points on the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in at February 7, 2022, and the stock market is at a breaking point. I don't know if you've seen the daily chart, but pretty much it is very scary and very hopeful at the same time. Whatever happens this week, it is either going to confirm the bounce we got on Friday, or we are going to see that volatility return. Now, we have a very important week this week. We are getting the CPI data, but there is still another big catalyst with the minutes next week, so there's a lot to find out about this week. It is either going to confirm a lot of the upside that we had and get this chart back up, or if it does stall out or go down, we are really going to be data dependent. I know Powell loves that, but we still got earnings. We have a lot of different things to digest, and pretty much earnings season isn't over. There is still going to be a lot of big movers, and even on the weekend, there was a lot that we have to go over. So I got the keys for you. I got the plays. We got all of the news and events. There was a ton, and then everything we're looking at for this week. So drop your thumbs up on the video if you find this helpful, and big shout out if you've been showing love, baby. And don't forget, today is Sunday, tomorrow is Monday. This is the random account generator. What we ask on this watch list, you post a random option trade, strike price, expiration date, keep it below $100, preferably with time, and then tomorrow morning before the market kicks off, we're going to do a random comment picker and see the results. And Chad, it's looking good, baby, so keep it up and thank you. But right off the bat, as far as this week, it will be a very big week if we get some surprises. So the big surprise, it's going to be all about the data. We're going to jump here to the pretty picture, but essentially it is expected to come in at 7.3%. That is the year-over-year CPI. So if it comes in any hotter than that, people will freak out about the Fed and what the Fed is going to do. And there was one big thing we got from last week. You can't forget what happened with all of the Facebook and Amazon and that back and forth, but it did create a divergence here with bonds. So the Fed futures, they are actually pricing in a little bit more than a couple of days ago. The market has not responded, and if you were watching TLT on Friday, there was a lot of bond volatility, and we're kind of breaking down there to the downside. So essentially, depending on what we get with the CPI, if we see continued bond divergence, the market goes up, but the bonds aren't playing along, and that CPI comes in hotter than expected, that will probably be the trigger, and we might see some more downside. So this all boils down to what the Fed is going to do, and that's why this week in the CPI will be very key. But essentially, if there is no big surprises and people are able to digest everything okay, remember Amazon, Snapchat, and all of those earnings, we were able to bounce a little bit, and we did close at some good levels. So if that all continues, we could see a rally and maybe get back up to some of the higher points and get some of the January losses back. But again, the main thing here is going to be CPI, but really, you saw last week how quickly the markets could turn volatile. So if bad CPI, that will spook the markets. Now, we saw a lot of this last week, and you even saw how the market moved. There is still going to be earnings both this week and next week, but pretty much after these 2 weeks, it's going to start to get to more of the smaller companies. But this week, you're getting earnings from Pfizer, Disney, Uber, Lyft, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Twitter, AMZN, Tyson, the food company, Toyota, Hasbro, Take-Two, Hog, Peloton, Chipotle, Mattel, O'Reilly, Affirm, and Expedia. So we do got a lot of different industries. Again, some value, some growth, but you saw what happened last week. And again, a lot of the sympathies in play. It can move a lot of stuff, but so far, I believe it is about 73% of companies that have reported they have beat expectations and done well. But as far as everything else, this week is pretty simple. It's just going to be all about the CPI. You can't forget about the drama that we saw, but it's really going to be about digestion. We are at good levels, and we're going to see what the earnings do, but it's pretty straightforward, and all it's going to come down to is what levels do we hold or break out from. Again, we're going to wait for the data, but the question is, what do we do before then? And most likely the earnings will drive it. So pretty simple. But coming into the company news and events, this was the big piece over the weekend. You even saw it go crazy there after hours on Friday, but there is reports that Amazon and Nike are interested in buying Peloton. I think even Nike, they took some more steps into it. So there was a lot of talk. The stock went up 40% after hours. Peloton is going to be reporting this week, so we'll see what happens, but you are definitely going to see some activity on this one tomorrow morning. Then the next piece of news, this one was pretty interesting because I don't know the context of it. There was just kind of like an interview with Yellen, but the headline was, Yellen says she has no plans to leave with her goals far from being accomplished. So got a little bit more Yellen talk. She says she has a lot of plans. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. But there was that. And then coming into oil, Saudi Aramco announced that they're going to be raising crude prices for March. Their U.S. and Asia customers will be paying now 30 to 70 cents more per barrel. So you already saw WTI go crazy last week. We're going to watch that, and we'll see how this plays in this week. And then Apple, we've been hearing this news, but now we're getting some specific dates, and it seems like the catalyst is this cheap iPhone. There was a report over the weekend that Apple is eyeing a March 8th reveal for this new low-cost iPhone, as well as an updated iPad. And then Spotify, more Joe Rogan drama. They removed over a dozen or dozens, I think, I want to say even like 100 of Joe Rogan's episodes, but this time it was over racial slurs that he has said in the past. So pretty interesting. It's not the same old misinformation, but they've been getting a lot of pressure. They had earnings. They had a good bounce, so we'll see how Spotify does tomorrow. And then Kohl's, they announced that they have rejected all of the takeover offers for being too low, and they have now hired bankers to explore some more offers or higher prices. So this one is going to be a really interesting one to watch over the week because we saw all the volatility over the last 2 weeks. I wonder if it's going to hold up or make them go higher, but that one was big. And then Bed Bath & Beyond, they announced that they are entering an accelerated share buyback and will be buying $1 billion of its own stock. I feel like I've heard this news before, but this was one of the big pieces of news there over the weekend. And then finally, we got this one on Friday, but Take-Two, they also have earnings this week. They announced that they are planning a new GTA game, or it is at least in development. So may take 15 years. We'll see what happens, but pretty straightforward. It all has to do with the data this week. CPI is going to be the driver. We're getting a lot of excitement there with energy and all that. You may get some Russia-Ukraine stuff, but for the most part, it is simply earnings and data. And if there's enough that we could get out of the earnings or data to drive us to key levels on the upside or downside, that will determine a lot as we get February kicked off. But that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 different stocks that I'm looking at coming into tomorrow, and I like all of these. I think there is going to be an exciting week. If the momentum holds up and we do get a lot of earnings, that will be good, but I think a lot of the earnings and sympathy plays, they may be a little bit easier to play this week. So coming into the first play, I'm going with Snapchat. This is the post-earnings move. We did make a play on Friday. We still got our shares. I am really going to be watching this one. I think the options are still relatively cheap. I'll show you, but like we've talked about, there's been a lot of volatility and there is a huge range on this stock. So if we see the continuation and it starts holding above that $40 level and getting up more towards the 50s, I think we could see a lot of excitement again. I kept talking about it on Friday. The earnings was very good. We'll see what the other companies do, and obviously the Fed and the data, but for the most part, Snap is looking very good, but the big caveat is we are at the mercy of the markets again. When you look at the daily chart of the S&P 500, I mean, this is really nothing to play with because you could tell it's kind of one of those heaven or hell moments to its own degree. Again, we are in the midst of peak volatility, so depending on what the data does, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to make it have everything go up or down or the market's reaction. So that's what we got to watch out for. But other than that, the play that I grabbed, and this is what we did on Friday, I'm still holding this with a pretty big position. I grabbed the $60 calls for April, but this is what I'm talking about the premiums being relatively cheap. So after the earnings on Friday there, I grabbed these at 25 cents, but you can see here, 25 cents was pretty much the same price these contracts were going for a couple of days. Yes, they have decayed a lot, and again, you saw the move there in Snapchat. Now they're kind of back to the price they were at in the middle of January, so this is what I'm going to be watching for if we get the continuation. What I did do with this play is we made it free. I bought 40 of these for 25 cents a pop. It went up to 50 cents, sold out, got my initial investment back, and now we're holding the rest of those. I got 20 contracts up over 100%, but they got a little bit of time. The range is very, very big. 60 is far out of the money, but again, just in terms of valuation and where Snapchat has been at, it is going to be a tricky one. So going to be watching watching this one. This is my first favorite play for tomorrow, but coming into the second play, I really like this one too, Airbnb, but the only issue is I think I may be a little bit early. They do not report this week. They report next week, but you get Expedia, I believe, on Thursday or Wednesday, so it may correlate there with the CPI, but essentially, if Expedia has good earnings, I would watch out for Airbnb with the sympathy. Again, sympathies can move a lot, but I am also feeling very optimistic about Airbnb's earnings. So the only downside is they have pretty good guidance, but I think they'll overall kill it. If we get a good signal from Expedia's earnings, that will be even better, but I do think we will see the premiums start to move at some point this week. Airbnb moved a little bit and it's holding up, so I really, really like that. I got a lot of the old dead contracts. I may look at more Airbnb options, but if you remember during the dip, I bought a lot of those leaps, and this is the thing I've noticed about the premium. All of the leaps that I bought have pretty much now came back. This one had a little bit of a loss there at the close, but with this spread, we did get back up to the same price, and then that other one that I bought at the way low, that one is still up 30%. So essentially, premiums are starting to move, even though the stock is pretty low right now. I'm pretty sure the stock is lower than when I bought this option. That's what makes it interesting. So that's what I'm going to be watching for here. These are the only plays that I'm writing out, but again, I think with Expedia, there will be a good sympathy opportunity, especially if Expedia could give a good signal. Even Uber will be tied to it a little bit, but that is the second play. And then finally, another earnings play here with Disney. I really like this one. I still have that old play, and they're down about 30%, but I bought this one, and then the market got really, really clapped. So they came back pretty quick. If they do get a pre-earnings run-up, we'll see what happens. But the thing about Disney, they have a bad taste from Netflix, and they got clapped because of the sympathy, but the expectations are both good and bad. So I'm pretty sure they guided pretty weak last time, but some people are looking at elements of recovery. Some analysts think their streaming is going to grow, some don't. So I think with the mixed bag here, it might be a little bit good. Again, the thing I'm worried about with Airbnb is high guidance, and one thing we've seen from this earnings season, if the company had bad guidance, the stock was able to do very well on the earnings, but if the company had really good guidance, a lot of those are the ones that got clapped there. So that is the only worry that I have, but I will be watching Disney. I have those February like 185 calls. Again, they're down 30% now. They were down a lot more, but it might double dip on those. I just want to watch the premiums. If we do see signs of a run up there early in the morning tomorrow, Disney may be a good one, but I'm definitely going to be watching that. But those are the main plays. I am really going to be eyeing all three of those for the rest of the week. As far as everything else, I did take profits on the Deutsche Banks on Friday. That play went up like another 50 or 100%, so I got out of it, and then we sold out of the IBMs at 70%, and then I did do a post-earnings play here with Unity. They had good earnings. They were up like 17%. I did decide to go with a weekly option on it. Again, they were up, and then they dropped a little bit. I thought I got a good price, but the spreads are crazy. Essentially, if this one takes off, I just know this stock can move here, but it is in one of those high valuation, it's kind of bad, but the earnings were good, so we're really going to see what happens. But I grabbed the 128s for February 11th, so that's going to be this week right here, but I do think these are going to move around. I think I spent like 40 something cents or 45 cents, and the logic was they pretty much came back after going for like 90 out throughout the day. Thought it would be a good pickup, but again, little amount of time, far at the money. This one is going to be volatile, but essentially, I would definitely keep my eye on this one. These things can move a lot, but those were the only other ones. I'm still holding those Amazon contracts. Those did come to life. I really want to see how they perform here this week. Amazon still has a lot to prove and a lot to lead. Snapchat, like we said. Don't forget about Facebook. The puts there are holding up in the value. The short-term ones, those did decay, but I'm still going to be watching them. They still really need to figure out where they want to be. Essentially, I think they need to test the low 220s, or they need to go back up to 250, and then we'll get a better idea of what people think they're going to do, but watch out for them. Watch Uber. Very powerful day there on Friday. They are going to have earnings. This is going to be a big one to watch. They do actually have some bad guidance there with the delivery, so this one may be a good one to get for earnings, just in the sense that if guidance is low, it's easier to beat, but watch out for them. Watch AMD and Qualcomm. Again, these were very, very good earnings. They're kind of holding up. I have the plays. The Qualcomm's held up. The AMDs are down because a little bit amount of time, but going to be watching both of these. If they come back, just don't forget they had good earnings, and just the chip makers in general, they could really lead. Then banks, again, with everything with the data and all of that, and some of them are bouncing back up. We're up like 70% on our Wells Fargo plays. Going to be writing these out, and I want to see how they perform, but definitely keep your eye out for them. Same thing with Airbnb, just like I'm saying here with earnings. earnings. It's looking a little bit better there. The premiums are already picking up, so we'll see what happens there with the sympathy with Expedia. Then Ford, they got clobbered, but some people have pointed out anytime Ford has ever sold oversold territory, and now this has hit that technical signal, they have bounced over like 60% within the 12 months. So going to keep my eye out for that. Again, we're holding them. I don't have any other option plays, but this is definitely one to watch following the earnings and all of that. And then Peloton, again, it was crazy what they did there after hours. They were at 24 and shot up all the way to like 34 there, and this was on the buyout news, so watch out for that tomorrow. We'll see what happens. And then Baba, China stocks are opening up this week. Remember, China was closed all last week, so we will see what happens with all of those, see if they lag or lead, or they could give just a general boost to the market. And then finally, TLT and the dollar. We need to see if TLT really breaks right here. Again, you got the markets holding up, and that's the thing. Bonds are diverging from the market, so depending on the data, we'll see what happens. But what I'm really going to watch for this week, if things are good and the market is able to do good with China reopening, everything's good overseas, but we see more bond volatility, this may be an early signal. And if it gets low fast and stays there, it's probably going to start signaling at a bad CPI report, and I may be willing to play that if the Fed futures really move along with it. So I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need to remember the blessings there. You just got to believe, baby. But the code loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.